This is one of the hardest TIG welding situations to control right here. But everything I've learned about control with TIG welding over the decades I've done it, it has all been put together in this one challenge here. The reason that I'm able to keep good control and make my arc really precise isn't about magic settings on the machine. This project does kind of require some fine-tuned settings, but I'll show you my final settings later in this episode as I get them totally dialed in. You can see that welding this one, I'm using little prop blocks to help position this. This is going to help to keep it stable as well as help with positioning with my hands. I use these blocks all the time to prop projects up so I can get a better angle on things. And when I'm welding, I'm going to be able to feed my filler material more comfortably. And these are all things that you're going to have to deal with when you're out TIG welding projects in the real world. That's why this exercise is so perfect for learning this stuff. Arcing on slow is key here. Keeping the arc from flickering side to side is tough, but keeping a slow and controlled pedal on, this is going to help to locate the puddle right where you want it at the start. Hitting it with too much heat too fast will cause the arc to hit one side more than the other with your starts, or it's going to cause the puddle to get smacked open with too much heat and make your weld too big or lopsided. We're going to keep in nice and close with the standoff distance. You can see how close I am to my workpiece with my tungsten distance here. You can see this is a really important detail that I show off in my textbook a lot. This is going to help to keep your puddle locked in and more focused. And this is important because this challenge has some tough angles that call out skills from real world situations. When TIG welding, the amount of surrounding base material is always changing with every welding pass that you do. No area that you weld is exactly the same. This project is mostly outside corner welding, so controlling your heat is a monumental task. Oh, and if your joint alignment or your prep is off at all, then this challenge or any real world welding stuff that you do, well, they're gonna be damn near impossible or very difficult to do properly. Look at the care and the preparation I put into this before I even start welding. This point that I'm at, even before I started welding, you can see I'm laying out and cutting my pieces precisely. I'm detailing all the edges to make sure that they're straight, there's no rag or rough edges, and then cleaning and decontaminating my parts here, extremely important. This is the stage here where you're basically gonna decide if your welding project is gonna be easy or a little more challenging. I give all kinds of tips like this in my textbook here again. You can purchase this and follow along with it. You can see that I also take a lot of time to really do the fine details with my wire brushing as well. I'm wire brushing all in one direction and I'm using a ruler. This is going to help to keep the brushing area looking nice and detailed. No crazy scratching all over the place. Trust me, this detail has a fantastic look in the end. You'll see after. Tacking things together is a bit of an art with these. Not only do we want the project to be held together so it doesn't fall apart, of course, but we want to make sure that the tacking is placed strategically so that none of them get in the way later. We don't want them to become lopsided or too filled up so it wrecks the weld that's going to go over it later. Looking at this here, it looks pretty clean. Everything's put away in the corners nicely. Don't ever put your tacks anywhere in the middle of a welding pass like this. This is going to make an obstacle that you have to deal with it later when you weld over it. Put them in the corners like you see here. Ideally, wherever you want to do a start or a stop. And make sure to get them centered as best as you can. Don't let them droop off to one side more than the other. All the edges are parallel and tight. We have no uneven edges or stupid gaps. And you saw I decontaminated earlier, but I also decontaminate after this stage here. Again, after the tacking assembly. That's right. I take my time with this, and you can see why all this care pays off so much. When I'm tacking this together, I'm essentially going to be welding 3 little pyramids in a shape like this. I'm going to check and make sure everything's nice and straight with a ruler and just give it a light amount of filler material to kind of lock everything in place. Again, in the corners, not in the middle of any passes. I'm going to get all 3 of these lined up nice and straight. Then I'm going to flip them over and I'm going to put the other one on the top like this. Same deal, tacking nice and tucked away in the corners, easy to get around. And then taking a look at it here, this thing looks spotless, ready to weld. It's all straight. And look at all the fun joints we're about to tee off on here. Now, at this point, when I light up for a pass, I'm going to settle my start nice and controlled, and at this point my welding becomes much more predictable and easy to control. Planning is also a massive thing and very important to a project like this. You can see we have tapered edges, so if you weld towards these tapered edges that become quite thin, your heat is going to add up and it's going to overheat. Taking the time to plan out which way you're going to head, like for example heading away from all of these corners, is going to help point your heat into more material, and it's also going to give a kind of a cool look of all the passes starting at the peak of each of these triangles. So you can see with all of our good prep and all of the control as well as the planning with our weld direction, my welding passes here on this project project, it becomes a lot more predictable. And focusing on the good fundamentals like we talked about seeing in the textbook earlier, I can keep control of my arc so much easier. My welding stays way more consistent, and now I can have my settings dialed in a little more. You can see that I'm working with a ball on the tip of my tungsten. Now, before you get carried away, take a look at how small the tip of this tungsten is. There is a ball on it, but it's absolutely tiny. This allows me a little more flexibility with my balance setting on my machine. It's going to keep the stability of the tungsten tip so it's not going to become misshapen or start to look weird, but it's also going to keep the fine point accuracy I want with all of my starts. Now, this project is fun as I weld along it because it has a few different types of welding. You've seen a boatload of outside corner stuff, but one of the fun parts of this project is you get to finish it up nice and tidy with some fillet welding. But before I do, there is a really important detail that has to be done here. Can you guess what it is? We've been welding everything together and we're about to seal this puppy up. What would happen if I was just about to send it and start welding? Any guesses? Leave a comment down below. I've talked about this on my channel a few times before with projects like this. The problem is going to be blowback. How many of you have ever seen a sight like this? You're going to close up a joint with the last button and it just starts blowing open and making a crazy mess. It's because you're about to finish welding and close the gap on a sealed compartment. With all the hot air trapped in this compartment, it's going to be rushing out as you try and close it up. There is something that takes care of this problem immediately. It's called weep holes. A weep hole is a little hole that will be strategically drilled somewhere on the project. This is going to allow the hot air to vent out of these areas instead of pouring out of the last step of your welding. These little spots here are just going to kind of sit on a tabletop when this thing's done. So it's kind of an inconspicuous spot that we can put them here. Weep holes are very common. You can see it on like things like bike frames. Take a look at my BMX bike here. There's weep holes all over it. Now that the weep holes have been strategically placed and we can close up and finish our welding, I'm going to start ripping on these fillet passes here. And again, the same rules apply. I'm keeping in nice and close like I showed earlier with my standoff distance, but with everything like this, it's exactly the same. You just watch the details of your edges as you're welding and make sure things don't get too hot as you approach the end of each of these passes. I recommend letting this thing cool down in between passes. You can just let it chill until it cools down. I use a leaf blower to cool down a lot of my passes. It happens really quick to do it that way, but it's going to help you to keep control of your heat much better and keep your arc focused for that laser accuracy we want. Finishing up here, take a look at how consistent my welding is overall. Sick. The outside corner welding is planned and controlled, and that all came from planning my welding direction before I started. The fillet passes wrapped everything around nicely and added a great looking contrast to the outside corners. And you can actually see this area here that I tried to weld on the inside. This was tight stuff. It was so tight I couldn't even fit a camera to film it, but you can take a look at it after here. It looks kind of decent, but at least it's filled up and I didn't dip and make a mess. And like I said, because of the weep holes, there's no blowback and everything finished up pretty. With all of the passes, check out this detail here. The cleaning action looks consistent and good and clean, and this usually goes hand in hand with good edges that are blended into the base material smoothly. The distance I use with my stepping looks really consistent overall, and you can see there aren't any lumps or any areas that are lacking fusion. Everything looks nice and sat down with good fusion. Like I said, this is a perfect exercise. You can just get some scrap material together and you're going to learn a ton about your accuracy as well as how to control your arc and plan your stuff. I wrote the book on TIG welding. No, seriously, it took me like a year to write this book. I did all of the artwork myself, and it's a really unique curriculum that I put together myself completely for my students. This book is published and shipped here right in Canada. We ship it from my shop at my house. This is no Amazon drop shipping, no AI bullshit. Every detail of this book is done myself. So pick up a copy. You can learn TIG welding way quicker. It helps to support my business. And do a random act of kindness for a stranger today. I'm Dusty James. Bill and Chill. We'll talk soon. Peace.